Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Winchesters. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So obviously, this episode, we're really leaning into John kind of being very antsy, like he wants to keep looking for the creature. It's like, right, he's saying like, this is about the end of the world, we need to stop this creature, we need to do it, like we're already hot on its trail, like we know about the radio tower and everything and Roxy and everything, but we don't know and can't find it, like the exact location of the radio tower, and he's getting a little antsy, and I think, and this episode really leans into like the whole was it Nito or Neto thing, the whole that war god, essentially, that he crossed paths with like 2 episodes ago. Obviously, that's still at the heart of a lot of this, and it really culminates in this this particular hunt because they are working with an ex-hunter, which is interesting because it is something that doesn't come up that often, which I'm almost like, I don't think it ever works. I'm trying to think legitimately. The closest you get is Garrett. Because, Garrett became a werewolf. And so, but I think I don't know if he did any hunting after. I think he retired from it. So, that might be, but even then, it's like, even when you retire, you never fully escape this world. Once again, once you're a part of this world, it will always have a grasp of you in some shape or form. I mean, once again, Sam and Dean, it never worked out. But obviously for John, he sees it as an opportunity. It's like, wait, if there's someone who's able to not only get out, has been out for 10 years, but we also see the supernatural world came a-knocking because our friend Darla was on the property and ended up dying because she was trying to come and warn Tracy about something. Also, Tracy is played by Audrey Marie Anderson, obviously best, probably CW-wise, as Lila from Arrow, but obviously just the Arrow version here. I want to say The Flash is the most recent time she popped up. I don't think it was last season. I want to say season 7? ? I actually don't remember. I want to say it might have been season 6, but it might have been season 7. I know Diggle made the rounds when it came to some of the CW shows, but I want to say she might have been in The Flash like season 7 or something like that, maybe. It feels like it's a little more recent. Like 7 feels right, but I could be wrong. Either way. So that's kind of really interesting, because I also don't know what's going on with that Justice You show. That's a whole conversation for another video or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, so yeah, Tracy, obviously her and Mary go back because she's a family friend. She's practically an aunt for Mary. Even calls her a nickname, Cricket. But when it's all said and done, it didn't even cross my mind until this episode when she was like, right, we got the preparations ready, and everyone else had this like solemn look on their face, and John's like, wait, what's ready? I was like, a hunter's funeral. I was like, right, it didn't even cross my mind. John's never seen one before. I was like, wow. Because obviously you never see the prep for it anymore. I feel like maybe early on you might have seen the prep. Maybe the last time we probably would have seen it like early on in the show might have been when... I mean, obviously we saw hunter funerals at later points, but I'm just saying like the preparation for it might have been when Sam originally died, like the whole 2-part finale thing. What was Aldous' character? Jake killed him, the whole Yellow Eyes situation. I think maybe Dean and Bobby maybe have prepared Sam's body. I don't remember. It's been a long time. So, but it's like, yeah, you never see the prep anymore. It's just kind of like you see the wrapped up body, and yeah, that it's like, right. And that's a sight that you never want to, like, it's all too common in the hunting world. It doesn't make it any easier because everyone could put themselves in a situation of like, right, that could be someone I know, that could be me, when you're mixed up in that world. And obviously for John, it's like hunters die, but then it's just to know, like, right, this is how that story ends for hunters. It's kind of another thing. Having that visual stays with you. That doesn't ever leave you. Knowing that's always going to be awaiting your end to some extent. So And obviously, they're initially thinking that it's a werewolf behind all of this, but it ends up being what was it? So what was it? Succubant or something like that. It's basically like a witch vampire, which I thought was interesting because I'm like, oh, around different parts we call those heretics. That, if you've never seen the Vampire Diaries, that's a thing in the Vampire Diaries, and they're known as heretics. Either way. But out of anything, like, John was, like, super aggro about all this. He's like, right, we gotta get into the fight. He went chasing after the monster when it showed up, coming after, Tracy. Because they're initially thinking, like, right, she and her crew, which included Darla, a buddy of theirs, was it Rob, and another guy, Mac, ended up killing at least 3 of them. The 4th one escaped to a caved in, and Mac got stuck inside. So it's like, right, so Rob must have tried to go back to give Mac a proper burial, and in that process ended up freeing this thing because apparently he's been alive this entire time. That was the initial thought. And John's all about, like, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. And he's trying to say, like, right, having seen a hunter's funeral, he doesn't want that to happen to Mary. So he's like, the quicker I can get you out of this life, because the quicker they find the Akrita, this is like the last hunt. She wants to find her dad, stop the Akrita, and that's it. And ultimately, he's using that as a justification, but it's just like, no, once again, it's the whole thing with Neto and Mary and just everything John's dealing with, because he's not talking to anybody. He's kept a lot of that stuff buried, but the Neto stuff, like, really brought a lot of that to the surface, as he talks about later. So, but Mary was like, right, don't use me as an excuse for you not dealing with your issues. And that's what this really is. He's avoiding dealing with his own stuff, but the Mary stuff is still true. It's just another outlet for him to kind of push his anger towards. It's a thing of all that he's feeling inside. He has something he can punch now. Like, right, finding something to punch is a lot easier than dealing with, like, eternal stuff. It's just a lot easier on that front. And so they actually end up finding out later on the truth about the creature. It's not actually alive. It's actually been dead. It's actually being possessed. And Tracy actually tells the full story. Mac him being in a cave-in and dying with the creature, it's like, that wasn't an accident. It was on purpose, because Mac was always someone who had anger issues that he never dealt with, because he was angry about an abusive father, people bullying him, and being a hunter made him feel good because now he could take all that, because he was actually really good at hunting, but all that anger and stuff, he got to point it at something, and it's like, you can see, and even Carlos is like, yeah, I see the direct parallels to John right now. And so, but the problem is, it was a situation where he felt so weak in his own personal life that being a hunter made him feel strong. Then he started getting into dark magic. And the sad thing is, lots of us are like, oh, and so you pointed him like a weapon. It's like, no, we didn't do that. But, we didn't have any choice, because he became lost and paranoid, and we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to help him. So when they saw that, hey, like, he could turn on us, they ended up working together, and they set off that C4 and they buried him alive. And it's like, they killed, like, and that ended up being that line from Dean at the beginning where it's like, right, sometimes this world kind of makes you go like, huh, you sometimes wonder who's the real monster, them or you. And it's like, yeah, we've seen that this life, that it can bring out the worst of us. It can make monsters of us all with some of the decisions that they end up hunters end up making, because they feel like they had no other choice. In Tracy's case, is like, we didn't know how to help Mac. But it's like, yeah, they took, from Mac's perspective, it's like, no, you took the easy route. So obviously the reason why he chose John to be the one he later on possesses is because, like, I feel it in you. Like, he felt a kindred spirit in someone who was just consumed in anger. So he wanted to get revenge against Tracy, because I'm assuming Rob is dead. We know he killed Darla, but that's what this has all been about. And Tracy was going to do it again. She was going to put down John to stop Mac, and she's like, this is the only way. It's like, well, that wouldn't have stopped Mac's spirit. He would have eventually just found another body. But Lotta's the one that ended up ending things. because she had a conversation with Carlos early where she felt like, hey, I'm not like you, John, or Mary. Like I'm not the fighter. I'm just like the book person, which is never a bad thing. Like, everyone has their strengths and their weaknesses, but she feels like, right, how can I be a pacifist? Like having to live in that duality of being a pacifist and being a part of this world where you hunt creatures when I'm not. Like, she feels like eventually it will catch up with her. It's like, it's hard to hit back against something when you can't actually throw the hit, So she felt complicated in that spot. But now we also learn why she's the pacifist. She tells the story of her father when their country is attacked. She's like, yeah, my father went to war, and when he came back, he wasn't the same. He was angry, he was violent. And she tried to make herself small to avoid that violence, but it still found its way to her. And she tried to keep that buried, and she realized that at the end of the day, all it did was make her angrier and angrier. Just like Matt. Matt dealt with an abusive father and bullying, and obviously that anger like built up inside of him. And same thing for Lotta. So she's like, and we don't know the specifics of it, and I'm wondering, it's got to be some of the reason why she probably isn't. Like, her and her mom probably don't have the best conversation, aren't have the relationship. I don't know, because Lotta didn't talk about her dad like it was a past tense thing, but maybe she was very careful about that. Because the conversation, it seems like, because she was like, yeah, tell mom I said so and so and so. So, like, maybe her dad is gone, but her mom's alive, and maybe her dad being gone has, because she's like, I did something, I hurt someone, and I cared about it. In the moment I did that, that's when I don't even know what she said she cared about it. It might have just been she hurt someone, and that made her go like, no, she took a more passive route because she couldn't let that anger control her. So it's like, right, the only way we're going to stop this, like this hurt and violence, it's an endless cycle if we don't end it here, because it's like, right, because Tracy had wronged Mac as well as the others had, he's been on this path of revenge, but it's like, you have to let that go, And, Tracy, she's like, I know it's 10 years too late, but I am sorry because we didn't know how to help you at the time. And Mac finally does let go. He lets go of that anger and lets go of John. So I thought that was powerful. And I think for Lotta, too, it's like, even Carlos is like, right, you're not the same hunter as me, John, or Mary, but that's perfectly fine because you kind of have your own strength, and that's good that you are you and not us, because she's saying that he's like, in that moment, either any of the three of us would have killed Mac. You're the only one that had the wherewithal and the strength to be like, no, we can find another way. That was always kind of a duality Sam and Dean had. Sam, more often than not always. Once again, there were exceptions where Dean was on the other side of it, but I feel like, to my recollection, and dude, correct me if I'm wrong, more often than not, Sam was the one like, let's find another way. Dean was like, this is the only way. Like I said, there were instances where it was switched, but typically Sam was more on the Lotta side of things, like, we can find another way, Mary also had that conversation with Tracy. Well, it's kind of a continued conversation that they had early on about, like, right, once you get out of hunting, what are you going to do? And it's like, she's like, I don't know, go back to school, go to college, figure something out. And it's like, Tracy did all that, but also Tracy did that as a byproduct of wanting to run away from like everything. And she's actually going to go back to hunting now. The werewolf or whatever that Darla was actually hunting before Mac found her. She's like, I'm going to try and do some good with the chance I've been given to try, not necessarily even the scoreboard, but like, make up for some of her past mistakes. Because for her, it's like, that was an important thing. She was like, because Mary's like, is that it? Just going back to hunting? And she's like, is that the lesson of it? It's like, no, the lesson is when you do leave hunting, like, any mistakes you made will follow you, as they came back to haunt Tracy in this episode. So it's like, you need to make sure when you leave hunting, you leave it under the right terms. And that's, once again, that sad thing. I was like, yeah, Mary left it, but that supernatural world, because there was a grander plan at play. Hell, even when she came back in season 12, what happened? She was still mixed up in that hunting world. Like, you just can't fully escape it, Because Tracy didn't leave hunting, under the best of terms. She left, once again, out of guilt. So it's not the same thing as like, right, because she was trying to escape her guilt. She's like, how can I continue hunting after I did what I did? I killed one of my buddies. Because at the end of the day, that was the thing Max said too. It's like, I needed you guys. I needed my family, and you weren't there for me when I needed you. In fact, you turned on me, so. she also brought up something really interesting that it sounds like, and Mary had never really brought this up before, that her parents are kind of currently separated. And I guess it's just like, in general terms, I guess like the hunting world never fully works out relationship wise. There's always going to probably be like either you both go or one of you goes. Obviously we got that with John and Mary at the end of the road, but even like Sam and Dean, like they left people behind. Either way, it's just interesting to know that obviously, I mean, any marriage is going to have its rough patches, but probably even more so, like, the darkness that comes with this world, it probably has an even bigger toll on any relationship. But obviously, she had said, like, hey, your parents, like, they've been separated before, and it kind of ended up working out, so they'll do it this time, too, because she hasn't heard from her mom at all, so that's what I was thinking was interesting. But, like, obviously, the last time this happened, like, Mary was super young at the time. So it's like, Tracy was like, yeah, that's why you stayed with me for a little while at one point in time when you were younger. It's because they had kind of separated. But it's like, yeah, they eventually, like, patched things up, which I thought was, like, kind of interesting. Once again, obviously, we know Samuel's going to survive this show, but I'm like, I don't know about her mom. I don't remember. It's been a while, because obviously her father comes up in season 6, but I'm like, I don't remember. It's been, once again, so long. I don't remember if her mom ever came up in the conversation. So she might have been long since gone. So she might not make it out of this. But luckily, Mary and John do finally talk, and he admits, like, right, for him, because his mom had told Mary, like, right, you were always he's the type to always run headfirst into something, a type of situation, and he was kind of like, right, he didn't like the whole aspect of, hey, stop psychoanalyzing me. Like, you and my mom, like, I need you guys to stop psychoanalyzing me. But now it's like, I do admit, like, I've always had this anger in me, and it's not until, like, the whole Neto thing, like, I had always kept it buried, but that resurfaced in a way I wasn't expecting it to, and having that anger come up again after he thought he had it under control for so long. Now it's a thing of, well, how do I handle this now? Especially considering, like, once again, that was all done on purpose, because it's like, hey, you need to be ready for this upcoming war. You're the soldier. You got that fire. You got that spark. You got that anger in you. This is the second time something's come after him, feeding off that anger. First Neto, and now Mac. And I think that speaks volumes. And once again, the sad thing is, if even John later on trying to get control of that anger, and once again, maybe the argument is, despite everything we've seen with an older John in the future, even then, maybe that's still not, he's still not nearly as angry as he could be. Maybe that's the argument. I don't know. Once again, I'm sure, like, he even filtered out, but once again, after losing Mary, that anger probably built up again. But, Mary, because he doesn't know how to fix things, but Mary's like, you don't kind of have to do this alone. Like, we need to stop the Akrita, yes, but, I don't want you to end up like Mac. I want to do whatever I can. Like, I don't want to make the mistake Tracy and them made, where they didn't try to help, and so she wants to help too. And so later on, John goes to Lotta to kind of help with the whole anger situation. So, and they start meditating together. I think it's kind of nice that she's easing him into it. But I also think kind of a sweet aspect of the episode, kind of going on a more lighthearted note, is the whole Anton and Carlos thing. Like, the moment Carlos saw Anton, it was almost like couldn't even speak, because she's like, and even Anton's like, wow, your friend's a quiet type, and even Lotta's like, no, he's not. For her, it's like, I don't understand what's happening here. He was awestruck by Anton, and it's like, yeah, because Carlos always, like, he says, like, I don't get it. Like, I always flirt with people. I'm the flirty type. Why am I losing my shit now? It's like, yeah, he was completely off his game, because he's usually acts so in control. Like, yeah, I'm so suave, I'm so cool, and it's just like, blah, 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 blah. I mean, we've all had those moments. It's just like, we got awestruck by someone, we're just like, oh my god, this person, oh my god, I just can't put into words. I can't even say words to them. But I even love that it's like, oh, Anton invited him for dinner, and he's like, yeah, it's just, yeah, I still got it. It's like, I love it. He's like, yeah, I guess flirting, not flirting is kind of now flirting or something like that. I thought that was really cute. So, but the episode ends with them finding the radio tower. Obviously, the big thing is like, cool, even if we have found it, we still haven't fixed the box, which is the only weapon we have currently that can kill the Akrita. So it's like, what are you going to do about it? especially considering, like, well, that was after one demon. What are you going to do about the Akrita, considering, like, there's a crap. I was on once again, don't know why I'm censoring myself. There's a shit ton of them, so, like, what are you going to do about that? So we'll ultimately have to wait and see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.